Hey guys, welcome back. I am here today with some filament, and that is because we are going to be doing the first of the All That Glitters series. Now, what is the All That Glitters series? Well, after Christmas, when shortly after Proto-Pasta came out with their glitter flake, I received some of it and I was instantly obsessed with it. And I made it my mission to go out and find every single glitter filament that existed. So I have now accrued a huge amount of glitter filament, and I'm going to go through and talk to you about each filament, the pros and cons, how it has printed, anything that you might need to know about it, as well as where you can get it. So we're going to start that off with the one that started it all, and that is the Proto-Pasta Glitter Flake, which is an HTPLA. Similar to their matte fiber filament, the HTPLA can be baked. I will insert a review up there of the matte fiber review that I did so that you can go ahead and check that out if you haven't used it. What that means is you can anneal it by baking it, which makes it more heat resistant. So you can do that with this filament. It is offered in both 1.75 and 3 millimeter filament. And it comes on a spool that is a 1/2 kilogram spool. Like all of Proto-Pasta spools, they are cardboard, which is great because they are recyclable. And it retails for around $29.99 per spool. So let's talk about the filament itself. Now, it is non-abrasive, which is great because that means that you don't need a hardened or plated nozzle to use it. When I was talking to Alex from Proto-Pasta at Murph, we were chatting about glitter, big surprise, and he was mentioning that the different size of the flake will determine how well it shows up on a flat surface versus a vertical surface. So I decided I needed to test that out with every single filament that I do so that we can kind of determine which applications the particular filament would be best for. So I printed a couple of keychains. These ones print standing upwards, which allows you to see the vertical side of things. Then I created another keychain which prints laying flat. That way you could kind of see how it would print looking down on the more flat surfaces. All of these prints I'm going to be doing on every single filament that I have. And that is so that you can see the difference from one to the next in the end. The very final video that I will do will be shots of all of these different filaments printed in the same item side by side so you can see how they differed. I also printed this little unicorn, which is by the 3D printed Aspie. I will link to his channel below as well as to the Thingiverse files for this and the next one. This, I wanted to do some sort of a unicorn because it seemed totally appropriate for a glitter filament. But in addition to that, I wanted something that would show both vertical and horizontal surfaces so that you could see how it would look on a whole as the entire thing put together rather than just something that is mostly vertical or mostly horizontal. So that's why I picked these two particular items. This one has some flat surfaces but also has some verticals. And same goes for this little narwhal. I will also insert a link to this one below. It also has some good flat surfaces, mostly rounded though, which gives you a good overall look at what you can expect out of the filament. So how did this filament print? Well, just like all of Proto-Pasta's other filaments that I've used so far, this printed like a dream. I didn't do any dialing in of any settings. I printed these with my standard PLA settings, which is printing at 210 with a 0.2 millimeter layer height. And the only one that used any supports was the little narwhal. I put some supports underneath his little spike as well as around his tail. That was it. Otherwise, everything printed without supports, and the supports did come off super easily. Somebody had asked me when it comes to the Proto-Pasta filament, what is the texture like? The texture is not smooth like a typical PLA would be, but it's not really super rough either. You can feel some slight roughness to it, but it's not extreme by any means. The bottom part that printed on glass is super, super smooth and super shiny. So in terms of the vertical printing, as you can see here, you don't get quite as much glitter effect out of the vertical printing. You do still see some of it. There is definitely some glistening glitter going on here. However, if you compare that to something that prints flat, you can definitely see the difference between the two. The things that are printing flat, you can see a huge amount of glitter out of them. Whereas if you turn that on its side, you can see that there's barely any glitter there. Same goes here. If you turn this onto the flatter side, you can see that there's a lot more glitter showing. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the Proto-Pasta filament does a much better job in terms of printing flat. However, use this the way that you want. If you want a more subtle glitter appearance, then printing the Proto-Pasta with something that's more vertical is the way to go. If you want something that blings out in glitter, then the way to go would be printing it with something more flat. In terms of this little unicorn here, he printed out awesome. So this printed really well, 200 micron layer height, and it looks awesome. As you can see, all of the curves looked really good. And even though you do have some vertical sections right here, even though they don't print with as much glitter, as a whole, the object still looks normal. It doesn't quite look strange, like there's missing pieces or spots that don't work out the way that you want them to, because you have some high glitter sections on the top and some lower glitter sections on the front. As a whole, the piece looks really good together. Same with the little narwhal here. He printed really, really well. It prints really well on the first layer. It is a slightly more translucent material. So if you are looking for something that is more opaque, you're going to have to do much more infill to get a more opaque appearance on this. So in terms of the 4 different prints I have here, like I said, every single one will be done for every single type of filament I have, assuming I have enough of some of the samples. And in doing these, you're going to see a whole lot about the filament itself and what it is capable of. Overall, I am absolutely in love with this filament. I did print a ton of snowflakes at Christmas time with this filament, and I will do that again this year. I do have 2 spools of this. One was a Christmas present and one I bought for myself. Proto-Pasta's filament, so far, every one that we have tried has been phenomenal. It is a little bit pricier of a filament at around $60 per kilogram, which is something to keep in mind, but this isn't necessarily the type of filament that you would just buy to print random things. Most likely you're going to use this to print something specific. So I do have 2 spools of it and I absolutely love it. I will link below to places that you can find this. Proto-Pasta does sell them directly on their website, but also you can get it at places like Printed Solid. If you're interested in knowing what the next video is going to be, I think I'm going to do the Filamentum colors next, simply because I do need to dial in those settings because I need it for another project. I hope this is something that you are interested in. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And huge, huge thank you to my patrons over at Patreon. I could not do videos like this without your support. It absolutely means the world to me. You guys are amazing. I hope that you guys have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you guys again next time.